Hey gamers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're jumping back into DC Dark Legion and we're going to be going over the newest tier list, the long-awaited, much-needed update to the last tier list, which was during the landscape version back in, I don't know, June, July. It's been a long time. Now that we're in an official soft launch and we know that the game is coming out early 2025, no official date yet, that's all we've been told so far. We wanted to put together a tier list to get everybody started. Please remember, this is a beginning tier list, and we're going to continue to see this tier list evolve over time. There's a lot to go into here, so let's get into it. All right, and welcome back. So a big shout out and thank you to Kryptoniac, Reaper's Fury X, Tyvaka, and Quantum. We all collaborated and gave our input on this tier list, and this is what came out of it. I think it is a very solid tier list, and like I said, we're going to continue to see this tier list evolve over time. Once we get characters into the blue and the purple and the gold stars and the red stars, we're going to see these things move a little bit. But right now, this list gives you a good idea of who's good and who's working well in a lot of teams currently in the early game. So before we jump into the tier list here, just a quick reminder, all the links to my social media are in the description below, so definitely check it out. If you like this content and you want to see more, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps me out, so thank you. All right, so let's get into the tier list. I'm going to go over to my roster. I'm going to post the S tier right over there. So you see we have Superman, Cyborg, Poison Ivy, Green Lantern, and Dr. Fate. I'm going to go through each one of those. We're going to go through the other tiers a little bit quicker because I'm not going to hit on absolutely everybody. I'm just going to pull a few people out. First, Superman. He's the very first banner. If this banner is up, I definitely suggest pulling for him as much and as often as possible. Once you get him, you're going to start off at 0 stars. Even at 0 stars, he does pretty decent damage, but as you increase the star level on all of your heroes, you're going to unlock these additional abilities. Again, not the biggest fan of that. We used to get every hero at 5 white stars, so all of their abilities were unlocked, and it's a little bit difficult. It makes some of these characters very difficult to understand how good they are until you get them up to the 5 white stars. And as mythical characters, you know you're not going to pull them very often, so it's going to take a very long time to see the value of those characters. And then obviously once you get to the other star colors, right? So white, blue, purple, gold, and red, you're obviously gonna get better and better. But even at that, some of these heroes tend to fall off a little bit towards the end game. At least that's what we saw in landscape. I'm assuming we're probably going to see some of that in this game as well, or this version of the game. So Superman, absolutely fantastic. He's got a lot of damage. His ultimate here flies off the screen, comes in, does massive damage, and then he gets his solar energy before dealing the physical damage, which gives him an increase in attack, and it stacks up to 3 times. He's got this other ability, once you get him up to 1 white star, again, some additional damage there. Once you get him to 3 whites, then he's got a little bit of crowd control with freezing here. And then this last one here increases his defense by 15%, which is something he definitely needs. Make sure you keep his armor at the best that you can, or his gear as high level as you possibly can. The more defense he has, the better. Once you get him up to the 5 whites, this really helps his longevity in battles because he can sometimes come across as a little bit of a glass cannon. He also has this attack up for each member of the Superman family. Currently, Superman is the only one of the Superman family that's in the game, but obviously we're going to continue to see more of those characters come out. Maybe we're going to see Crypto. All right, so that's Superman. Let's go ahead and talk about Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy, fantastic healer. She was great in landscape and early portrait. She's still great. She has been toned down a little bit, but she does some awesome healing still. And next to Green Lantern, the best healer in the game. So you've got her ultimate that's doing, look at this, I love this. Healing the target for 100% of her attack, so her healing's based on attack. Each vine she summons increases the healing effect by 20% up to a maximum increase of 300%. Definitely some nice healing there. And then obviously she's got some attack. Really don't care too much about her attack, but it does help. It comes in handy. And since her healing is based off her attack and attack percentage, obviously the more attack she does, the more damage she does, the more healing she does, the higher the attack you see, you get it. But this ability here, she again summons some blooming ivies next to the ally, inherits 10% of the poison ivy's maxed health and 100% of her attributes. So you got definitely some nice buffing up there. And then once you get her up to 5 whites, She unleashes this bewitching spores, dealing physical damage out there as well. Also, inflicting the bewitch, which causes the target to slowly move towards her for 2 seconds. Again, this is great for PvP as well. A lot of these characters will do well in PvP as well as combat cycle, and again, multiple game modes. And that's why these characters are S tier, because they do great damage, they do great healing, they're versatile, they work in multiple game modes and multiple teams. So they're all great characters to invest in. All right, the next one is Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate, for me, he is fantastic. I don't use him every time. I use him really to get through the really difficult content in the game because I prefer to add more damage. But him and his shields are absolutely fantastic. His ultimate here, you can see, add shields to the team. 16% of his max HP to allies in a circular area, right? So obviously HP is important for him. So when you look at putting legacy weapons on these heroes, look at what stats they have so that you can help with their kits, right? So obviously you want you want a legacy item here that gives some health. So if I go into here, I got this one here for right now. Gives me HP flat as well as a percentage stat. So increase the shield strength there. And then you've also got, let's see, you've got this one here as well. Fate casts a spell that grants shield equal to 12% of his max HP to a selected ally. So you can choose which ally that you're going to throw that shield on, or leave it up to auto to figure that out. You've got some damage here. Again, not really focused on the damage for him. So I wouldn't give him a legacy weapon that would provide additional attack or damage or anything like that. And then once I get him up to 5 whites here, at the start of every battle, Justice League Dark allies increase the shield. Really excited to get him into a full team again with, who is it? Zatanna, Constantine, him, Raven, and for some reason I can't remember the last one. But great character overall. Again, I use him to push through the more difficult content. All right, and then we've got 3 characters that I currently don't have. So we're going to go out and we're going to take a look at this strategy guide right here. We're going to take a look at lineup. And then we're going to go into Justice League right here, since they're all Justice League characters. Let's talk about Green Lantern really quick. Green Lantern, fantastic healer. I think, again, the best healer in the game because he serves so many purposes, and there's so many different ways that he heals. So his ultimate right here, this is great because he offers healing, but excess healing is converted into a shield. So if you pair him up with Mara, since they both have Justice League tags, then you're going to top off your heroes, and then any additional healing that Green Lantern does is going to be converted into a shield, so you got that extra defense there. I think that synergy is absolutely awesome. He's got this here. He does some spiritual damage. Not really focused on spiritual damage for him, so I wouldn't suggest giving him any weapons that are focused on damage. It's more about this. It's more about his attack overall. Because again, if we take a look at this, it's all based off of his attack. We have this ability right here. He creates an energy field on the ground. Any ally that's in that field gets additional healing, which I think is great as well. And then this last one here, increases healing taken up by all Green Lantern Corps. Right now, the only Green Lantern character in the game is Green Lantern himself, but obviously we have some more characters coming along, so I think that's absolutely awesome. He is fantastic. He is a paid character, like I had mentioned before, but maybe one of these days he'll come to a mother box, or he'll have his own bleed. We'll see. All right, let's see. One other character that I don't have. Let's talk about Cyborg and why he's good. Now, if you have Batgirl, you can easily swap out Batgirl for Cyborg, but let's talk about his kit here really quick. He's definitely a support character. He puts invulnerability on the enemy, and that increases physical damage taken by the enemy by 60%. So obviously you want him in a team where the attackers and the damage is physical, not spiritual or any other type of damage. It's physical damage specifically. This is similar to what Batgirl does, except Batgirl increases crit. Also Vixen, we'll talk about them here in just a little bit. This ability here does a little bit of damage, not really focused on his damage at all. It's his support here that you really want to focus on. This ability here, this is a reboot. If he's going to take lethal damage, he's going to block that damage as long as he has a living ally, and then he's going to initiate emergency repairs, which is going to restore a certain amount of his health, and it can't be dispelled, which is awesome. And then this last one here, when Cyborg's deployed in certain time-limited missions, I don't know which ones they are specifically. I wish we could see them listed here, but he's going to increase that limit by 15 seconds. So maybe it could be, I think Training Simulator is where I noticed it mainly. It's just something I got to really kind of take a look at again. But if anybody knows, let me know in the comment section below. So those are your S-class heroes. Fantastic heroes to invest in. You're not going to want to reset any one of them. And investing experience and force into each one of them is definitely going to be worthwhile. We're going to run through the other tiers just a little bit quicker. I'm going to just pick a few of the characters to discuss. All of them are great. And even when you start talking about synergies and building teams, even though we have like Catwoman down in S tier, she has a place in the early game to help, especially in like combat cycle or even working through campaign. So let's talk about A tier. A tier. Now, this is a point of contention for me. So when we got together and we provided our input on where we feel each one of these characters should be, most of us agreed on pretty much everything. There's a few things that were kind of different when we were kind of taking a look at what we have in our rosters and where we think they should fall on the tier list. For me, Harley Quinn should be S tier. I was outvoted on that. That's okay. It's all good. We really kind of took the averages of what everybody thought, right? And there was really only a couple changes, which is cool. When you have a number of us getting together and providing feedback, there was really only 2 changes that were made on the list. So Harley, I feel that she should be S tier, but she is a fantastic A tier. You get her for free in the first week once you finish up that 7th day login. If you're lucky, you can pull her from a red mother box or from the bleed, because if that happens, that's what happened with me, as I pulled her from a red mother box, and then once I hit the 7th day, I got her up to 3 whites. And as you know, as we discussed before, as you star them up, they unlock abilities, and once you get her up to 3 whites, she has this. Harley Quinn gains HP equal to 4% of the damage that she deals, so she's got some self-healing here that helps really well. She's a fantastic damage dealer. She recently went through a fix because what was happening is she was doing more damage than she was intended to do. She was hitting multiple times, stacking up her damage percentage off of her basic, and it was giving her some really high numbers. I was getting, just her alone in combat cycle, I was doing 900,000 to 1 million damage her alone. After the fix and after working properly, I lost about 400,000 damage. So she's running around 600,000 damage right now. So she's still good. She's still one of the best damage dealers in the game and definitely worth investing in. So I put everything into her. She's my highest power level character right now. I've also maxed out her force as much as I can so that I can just make her as good as I can, and as I get more stars, obviously unlocking more stars will allow me to put more force in her as well. All right, Mara, I'm going to talk about Mara just a little bit. She's A tier as well. She's your starting healer. She does well. I want to call something out though. Don't be afraid to invest in her. Be careful of the force though. So when we talk about these heroes, and the reason why you shouldn't worry too much about investing in them early on is because you can reset them all the way up to level 120. As you can see, I'm level 120. I can reset, get my resources back. Once I hit level 121, that reset button goes away, and you can no longer reset that hero, that character. So you're going to start off with Mara as one of your top 5, but eventually, like once you get Poison Ivy or even Green Lantern, I'd pull her out of your top 5 and put her in the level sync down here. When it comes to resetting a hero, you get all of your resources back except for force. So when I was investing force in her so that she could be the best healer she could be as I was building up my account, I was putting it in only skills and stats that are going to help her out. Since her healing is based on attack, I only put force in her attack abilities, as well as I put 1 into this one here, which increases my healing. And then I put a couple into healing waters. So I was very selective on where I put my force, because when you reset your hero, again, you do not get your force refunded to you. So you don't want to waste it. Eventually, I'll go back and I'll unlock more abilities once I have my main team set. But just something to keep in mind for Mara and anybody that you feel you're going to reset. Only invest force if you need to, and only invest force in what stats or abilities you need right away. All right. especially since we really don't have a good source of Force AC/DC shards right now. That's going to be mainly in Darkest Timeline, and that's not available currently. All right, so let's see. Batgirl I was going to talk about. Batgirl is fantastic. Like I said, once you get Cyborg, you can swap her out. You can actually use them interchangeably a little bit, right? So when we talk about Batgirl, very good A-tier character. She scans the entire battlefield and summons drones behind every ally to transfer energy, increasing allies' crit rate by 12% for 6 seconds. This is where it really increases the damage of the team, and it does a really great job. So her ultimate increases crit rate, and you've got Cyborg's ultimate that increases physical damage by 60%. That's massive. So I would use her, but again, if you've got Cyborg, I would swap them out. That's really the best use. That's the best thing about Batgirl right now. She does this ability here as well, which transfers crit rate by 8% for 20 seconds. But let's see. Batgirl summons a drone behind an ally. So any ally, you can choose that. Or obviously if it's on auto, the auto is going to choose one. She's got a little bit of an attack here. You're really not using her for attack, but she can do some decent damage. And then this ability here at the start of battle, Batgirl increases all allies' crit amp by 9%. So again, additional damage there. So she is great and is an A-tier character. Two more that I want to go over here really quick. You've got Green Arrow. Green Arrow is great in the early to mid game. Once you get towards the end game, he tends to fall off quite a bit. That's how he was in Landscape. We'll find out if he continues that, but currently still an A tier character and definitely worth investing in. I am not doing much with his Force. I've done a little bit, and he's still doing pretty good. I'll show you a recent combat cycle I did with him in there. And then the other one here, he's just pure damage. The other one is Two-Face, so let's go. Oh, I don't know. Is he over here? Let's look in the strategy guide and see if he's over here. Line up. Then we're going to go into, yeah, there he is. Two-Face was fantastic. Love the guy. S-tier character before. Dropped a little bit because he doesn't do as much damage. He's just straight up damage dealer. Let me go ahead and do this max stars here. I'll get this max level 580. Did you notice that? All right, so his ultimate here does massive damage, also inflicting a stack of panic, which reduces the target's physical defense. So he's going to do well with Joker, because Joker does spiritual damage, or anybody else who does spiritual damage, like Black Adam does spiritual damage as well. So that's going to help increase the amount of damage that they do. So nice damage and a good debuff. This here, again, we've got some nice damage there. More damage here. Also a bleed. So once you get him up to, what is this, 3 stars, you're going to have the ability to cause some bleeding on your enemy, which is going to obviously help with the damage that he can do. And then right here, his basic is fixed 50% chance to attack with an assault rifle, dealing physical damage equal to 460% of his attack. So all-out damage dealer again, and a couple nice debuffs there. And then I think that's it for A tier. When we talk about B and C tiers, there's a couple things I want to point out. Not that these characters are bad. I'll just take one for example. Let's talk about Vixen. Vixen, I swear everybody gets early on. She's a lower tier Batgirl, lower tier Cyborg. When we take a look at her abilities here, this ultimate here, Vixen summons a lion from her necklace that lets out a mighty roar, increasing attack of allies within range for 20%. So early on, she's kind of that support that increases the amount of damage that your team can use. Definitely worth investing in the beginning. I wouldn't go too hard on her because you are going to definitely swap her out once you get Cyborg or Batgirl. So her other abilities here, increases attack of an ally as well. This works out pretty well. Found out that it's based off the ally, and I was working with Owlier on this one. Based off the ally who has the highest attack, she's going to jump to them and then increase their attack even further by 30%. We've got this one here. Let's see. Swoops down on a target, dealing damage equal to 280% of her attack. Again, a support character with attack. You're really not there for the attack or the damage from her. It's really her support. And then flying high at the start of battle. Vixen's dodge increases by 8%. So definitely helps out there as well. Especially since she's a support and she gets on the front line quite a bit. All right. Let's talk about our B and C tier. I mean, that was a B tier character right there. I'm not going to go through all of them. Batman, a little bit of, he's not as good as he once was. he never really was very good until you got him into a full Justice League team. Even now, I think his damage isn't, or and even just his usability isn't as good as it used to be. So he got downgraded a little bit. We'll see what that looks like as the game continues on. And then when we talk about our C tier, you can see Catwoman down there. You can see Lex, Captain Cold, Adam. Not sure what's going on with Adam. His ultimate kills him. So he's come in handy really early on, but then very quickly falls off. But let's talk about Catwoman a little bit. When we're talking about the tier list, we also need to keep in mind synergies within the team. Now, if we take a look at Catwoman, she, like I said, she has her uses early on. She is part of Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey is good early on because of the lifesteal. She also has this right here, which is Weapon Master. So when I go back into one of my combat cycle teams, one thing to keep in mind here, I'm just going to jump into this combat cycle. We're not going to start it. I'll show you the results of this that I had a little bit earlier today over here. Pulled about 1.2 damage. You want to pay attention to this here, these synergies right here, right? So early on, you're going to have, as far as Birds of Prey go, you're going to have Vixen, you're going to have Catwoman, and then if you pull Harley there, you're going to have that synergy right there, which is going to give you some lifesteal on those. Really good about Batgirl here is that not only does she have Birds of Prey, she also has Weapon Master here. So she synergizes with Harley as well, and then Green Arrow here also. So I've got two synergies going on here. Definitely keep an eye on that as well as you're putting your teams together. Because again, even early on, Catwoman, even though she's not as great as she used to be in Combat Cycle, she's nowhere near as good as she used to be in Combat Cycle, but she definitely does help out and help me get more and more rewards just by having her in there and getting those synergies. Because again, she's got the Weapon Master as well as the Birds of Prey. So you're doing some additional damage and some lifesteal there, which helps with keeping your team up. And then Green Arrow, like I said, really good early to mid, and then he starts to drop off in the end game. Again, that was back in Landscape, but you can see the damage he pulled in was over 300k, which is pretty good. And even Superman at 0 stars was keeping up fairly decently. Once we get a few more stars into him, you can see that damage that he did is definitely going to go up quite a bit higher. So I think I've talked enough. That is the tier list. Again, a huge shout out to Quantum, Tyvaka, Reaper's Fury X, and Kryptoniac for helping out with this and just getting us together so we can provide the feedback and get you a very early tier list. Again, this is going to evolve over time, so take it for what you will. Some suggestions here, and then definitely leave your feedback in the comment section below. Really looking forward to your thoughts. Where do you think maybe some shifts should happen? Do we rate somebody too low and you think they should be higher? Or do you think one of our S tier characters should definitely be knocked down a peg or two? Definitely want your feedback about that. All right, everybody, that is what I had for you. As always, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. If you liked it, make sure you hit that like button and share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.